USA Warrior Stories is a not-for-profit organization designed to record, archive, and share videos of veteran stories, to help veterans make a connection with one another and to help us all better understand their sacrifices for our freedoms.
When I first enlisted, I graduated high school and I had gotten accepted into a few colleges with a few scholarships, but I didn't really feel like it fulfilled a purpose. I really wanted to gain some more discipline and learn to give back, so I decided I was going to enlist in the military. I was up in the air between the Air Force and the Navy. The Navy recruiter called me first, and his personality was very magnetic. He was very transparent, so that's how they got me. So I signed up when I was 18, didn't leave until I was 19, and I grew up in Long Island very poor. My mother had me at 15 years old, so I was so excited to leave New York and get to see the world. But it was definitely a culture shock.
Move, let's go, move down, let's go. No.
And I remember standing in ranks and we're all getting screamed at.
Welcome to the United States Navy. For the next 8 weeks, you will not do a single thing on your own. I tell you what to do, how to do it, when to do it. Nothing that I ever tell you is a request, an option, or a suggestion.
I was really good at singing cadence, so I became second in command at boot camp.
3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1.
It probably on the outside was just such a small moment when I raised my hand, but on the inside, as a 19-year-old girl who had just left my home in New York, that was a moment that I remember for me where I decided that I was worth that role. And it really shaped me, I think, from that moment on. But also firefighting and shooting guns and getting pepper sprayed is pretty enlightening as well. So that definitely made an impression of my boot camp experience. So after I graduated boot camp, I went to a specialty school in Great Lakes, Illinois. As an I seaman, we have to go through what they call an A school, which is a technical training for anyone who's going to be in basically an electrical type of field, after which we get orders to a ship, and that determines what kind of job you're actually going to have in that field. I was assigned to our phone systems, our communication systems, and so my school was going to be in San Diego, California with my duty station. I was assigned to the USS Kidd, DDG 100, and following that, the USS Wayne A Myer, which is DDG 108. I think I was the only colored person. Well, that definition of being colored now has broadened a little bit. So I was the only black sailor in my my division of like 40 people for a while, and there were only 3 women in that division. We're definitely a minority being a woman in the military, and that's actually something that I try to create awareness and exposure to now that I'm a civilian, because the woman veteran demographic is so scattered geographically that a lot of times we don't know where to find support. And, you know, there's not a lot of camaraderie for us because people walk past us on Veterans Day to shake the hands of the guy standing next to us. So that's shaped my experience a lot. And so that's something that I'm very passionate about right now. When you're stationed on ships, they deploy in strike groups. So you have an aircraft carrier and you have destroyers that are assigned to that. You have LHDs that are assigned to that, and every ship has its own mission. My ship was the Firepower. We go out with the aircraft carrier about every 18 months, and there's always a strike group out to sea. My first deployment is the most memorable for me. My grandmother was very influential in my upbringing, and she actually passed away during my first deployment. Since we were in a hazardous zone, I was not able to leave the ship to go lay her to rest. So I definitely grew up a lot on that deployment. Some good things did come out of it as well. We rescued Iranian fishermen from Somalian pirates on that deployment, and so we were awarded the Global War on Terrorism Expeditionary Medal, which is the reason why I'm able to be a member of this VFW today. We basically got a distress signal one night, and our chief engineer could speak the language of the person who was sending the distress signal. We basically located them and took over the vessel, brought them all on board, and then we delivered them to Seychelles to be tried. My deployment lasts around 7 to 8 months. We do get to pull into port about once a month, which means we get to visit different countries, so that's a nice perk of the job. My favorite port was Tahiti. We were the first naval ship to pull in 20 years. It just was like a tropical paradise. It was gorgeous. It was just an amazing experience. When we pulled into port, there were people dancing and, you know, their little outfits and stuff, so it was a great celebration. But you'll never get that back of anticipating going into that new country you've never been to before and experiencing that new life, new way of living, new people, new culture, new foods, and just the beauty of the water, like also on the horizon when you're topside. I'll never get that back. Another proud moment would be when I earned my electrician certificate. It required 8,000 manual hours of different aspects of my field, but when I accomplished it, I mean, I felt really proud of myself, and it was just like an I told you so to the people who, when I said I was joining, were like, what? You're crazy. Why would you join the military? Like, it was kind of like, yes, what I've done here, I served my country, and I can still take something away from this to serve my family when I go home. Getting out was rough. It was a decision that my husband and I made for the betterment of our child, because I was pregnant when I got out. But also the transition was rough. After he got out of the military and we moved back here, we were homeless for a short amount of time. And a lot of the resources that were available were either shelters for men or they were shelters for single women. So if you had a child or you were married, it disqualified you for certain things. So we had to tap into our savings and basically just to get on our feet. There was obviously a lot of mental doubts that came along in that time, wondering if you made the right decision, hanging up your uniform and kind of feeling isolated now. And yeah, it was rough, and that's why it's so important that I help people who are going through that now. Just that feeling of isolation when I first got out is what I reference to when I say it's important to be a part of the VFW. So having that support here from these men and women who also serve or have served is critical. Also in our marriages, our personal life, being parents, not just in talking about our stories, because our families are basically adapting to transitioning back into the civilian world after your service as well. So it's nice having somebody that can mentor you through it and tell you how to cope, how to build a new life after service. So I actually just left my position at Gabreski Air National Guard Base here in West Hampton Beach. I would say that every single lesson I learned about resiliency and transitioning from the military into being a civilian has translated streamlessly into me helping the deployers here on the air base. I think that my experience with my medical retirement, with acclimating and transferring my skills to a civilian job, learning how to write resumes, learning what resources are out there for your health care after you get out, grants that are available for homeless veterans, etc., are all personal tools that I've used to help myself and my family, and I was able to pay back to the guardsmen on the Air National Guard base here. So now I try to keep in touch with some of my still active females. When you do find a female veteran, a lot of the ones that you find are a little older, like you mentioned, but they're always welcoming. They're always like helpful and trying to mentor you, and you kind of just have to have a loud voice and just let everybody know that you are here for the women who are transitioning out of the military too. At my age of 31, I'm seeing more and more female veterans that are younger, so that's exciting. But a part of our job is to create that kind of open door and to show them that there are groups of us around, and that if you do need help with any of the situations that are unique to you, we're here and we know how to support you. That's a journey I'm embarking on right now, and my school is helping me do that. I go to Columbia University in the city of New York. So I'm majoring in psychology with a minor of sociology, and I smile so big because I'm still up in the air about what I'm going to do when I get out. I might pursue law. I really want to work on healthcare disparities, equal pay, and things of that nature. And a lot of that has stemmed from my experience in the military. Personally, I will say that I've learned to overcome challenges in the military, and I think that has definitely affected my life 110%, especially coming from a broken home and a teenage pregnancy, and now being able to be a homeowner, attending an Ivy League school. I definitely contribute all of those accomplishments to the things that I've learned in the military, the benefits I've earned from the military. I know a lot of veterans personally, if you haven't been physically in combat, can doubt themselves. They have those self-doubt thoughts thinking, did my time matter? That's a real veteran over there. I only did my time and got out. And I think it's important for everybody to acknowledge the sacrifices that they made in their families, the sacrifice of time, and the things that we don't talk about. So I do feel like my story is important because it really creates exposure that, you don't get that time back. The sacrifice that you made, you signed your name on the dotted line to give your life. And you did for the contracted amount of time that you were supposed to, and you can't minimize that. Another reason I think it's important to share my story is because, as you have said, I'm a woman of color, and the definition of veteran is often affiliated with the straight white male as being American, and I think it's important to show that the women are fighting for our country as well, and so are the minorities. There are so many of us that would give our lives in a heartbeat for this country, so it's important to put our face out there. I'm brought back to a moment. Last Veterans Day, Columbia University has a float on the Veterans Day parade in New York, and I remember standing on there and being the only girl and feeling a little isolated. I remember that moment, and there was a little girl on the sidewalk, and she saw me, and I'll never forget the way her eyes lit up, and she followed the street all the way till the end of the sidewalk. And in that moment, it was that's why I'm here, so that she can see that she can do it too. Yeah, I don't know why I'm getting teary-eyed about that. But yeah, that's why I think it's important for us to share our stories, big and small, and really give exposure to all of our experiences.